to our community in the heart of our city, in the heart of the parliamentary district. And I don't want to in any way forget, I know there are federal representatives here, but the trauma impacted on federal employees, elected officials, public officials, the entire infrastructure and ecosystem that represents our nation's capital, the parliamentary district. And I believe Mr. Champ quoted 18 or 15,000 residents in that area. I don't know how many businesses. I know the Rideau Center was closed. All of that happened literally within hours. And the relief did not come, I believe, until February 17th, 18th, or 19th.
And we've heard evidence from some of the residents and business owners affected during the first week of hearing that from that time on, they started feeling abandoned by the police, by other leaders, and they felt hopeless. That was one of the adjectives they used. And they started seeing a kind of general chaos and lawlessness. How would you describe what was happening? Were those adjectives accurate?
First of all, I'll never challenge the feelings of a member of our community. They're their feelings. They're as righteous and as accurate as they need to be for the human being that expressed them. So I'm in no way challenging wherever that sentiment came from. I can tell you that I met with, spoke with, walked around and talked with many of the residents, the business owners. I was at a Business Improvement Association meeting that was referenced by one of the witnesses. And I heard a range of sentiments. I saw a range of responses from incredibly resilient and understanding and patient people, an elderly couple, both of them infirm in wheelchairs, traveling through that minus 35-degree temperature, stopped me as I was getting out of my SUV while doing a live call on a board meeting on February 1st, I believe, and talked to me. I think Chair Deans was talking, and I was literally talking to this couple. Chief, we know you guys are doing the best you can. Please, it's hard for us to get around the sidewalks. We're trying to do our shopping. We know this is really tough on you and your team. Please do your best for us. So yes, I heard expressions of hopelessness. I heard accusations of abandonment. But I would have to say the vast majority that I received directly to me was around resilience, impatience. Get this thing resolved as quickly as you can, as completely as you can, but resilience and a level of understanding as to what the officers on the ground, and I don't say just officers, the members of our organization, the partners that were deployed already from OPP, RCMP, London, God bless them. I think people understood how difficult it was, but they didn't see the situation resolving in a day, in 2 days. And I think it's reasonable for people to feel really aggrieved that there isn't a clear solution or a timeline to a clear solution that they could tangibly see and anticipate. And we were simply not in a position to provide that to them.
And
at that time.
In addition to the perspectives of the residents and business owners, et cetera, since you're the chief of the Ottawa Police Service, can you tell us how were the members of the Ottawa Police Service holding up? Because this was only the beginning. It continued for another 3 weeks or so.
This is always a little tricky part for me, sorry.
Is he going to cry? Is he going to cry?
Want us to take a break?
Is he going to cry? Oh, I'm sorry. I've screwed up everything this morning, but I came in and is he going to cry?
They were doing their very best under inhuman circumstances, like the city was, like the community was.
Oh.
It was too cold and it was too much.
Oh my goodness. He's crying. This is a police chief crying about a protest.
And they should be celebrated. Not celebrated, that's the wrong word.
Praised.
They should be understood.
Oh,
do you feel that they were misunderstood?
God. Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
This is a
I
preposterous
think I've given
joke.
this testimony in parliamentary standing committees. The level of disinformation and misinformation was off the charts. It was crushing to the members' morale. It was crushing to the incident command team's morale. It was crushing to my executive team's morale. I suspect it was crushing to the board. It was crushing to everybody. It was unrelenting. It was 24 hours a day.
Oh.
And I think by the end of the weekend, it had become a global story that mainstream media was following. And none of it was portraying in any way accurate the hard work of the men and women of the Ottawa Police Service and the partner agencies that stood with us. None of it.
I cannot
To
believe
this day, it hasn't.
he's actually crying
And that is very unfortunate.
for
because
himself.
public trust and confidence in any police service, I believe, is the number one public safety factor.
Oh yeah, and
When any police
nobody
service
trusts you.
loses significantly public trust and confidence, that in of itself is a massive public safety threat and risk. It materializes in so many ways. I don't know if the commissioner wants me to expand on that, but I'm happy to do so. And unfortunately, as quickly as the events unfolded on the morning and the afternoon of the Saturday, public opinion against the Ottawa Police Service and its members turned just as quickly and to the same unprecedented levels that were unrelenting,
This
at
man
least
is
from my
supposed to
entire
be.
experience.
He is
up
the
until
former
February
police
15th.
chief, crying
Well, you spoke of how
about
the
a
officers were
protest and the
misunderstood.
police being
Let's
misunderstood.
hope that this inquiry will be the beginning of that understanding.
Oh, it'll be the beginning of the understanding.
Commissioner,
It's
can
not
we-
going to get any better for you guys.
Would this be a good time to take a recess?
If you would like, sure, we can take the morning break for 15 minutes.
Oh my goodness! Let me see his face. Let's get a hot mic. Catch something here. Did I do good?
The commission is in recess for 15 minutes. La commission est levée pour 15 minutes.
That's the former police chief. I'm going to remove this. Give me 1 second. I wasn't ready to go live. I've screwed everything up this morning. Hold on. Oh my. Oh my. Cry. Okay, hold on. Get the lighting. It's a little better. Okay. Holy crab apples. Just kick the dog. So let's explain what happened this morning because I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot, but I'm going to blame the kids. Anybody with kids is going to know they are the ultimate scapegoat, but they are also the ultimate culprits. Someone unplugged my computer to plug in their iPad, not understanding that computers need power. And when computers are running a mic, a camera, and live streaming continuously, it uses a lot of battery power. I don't know how long it went. Who was watching, by the way, when it went dead? Because let me just see what's going on here. Did I set up 2 streams? Friday, October 28th, Emergencies Act inquiry. I need to see that we're live on Rumble. We are. Okay. That's me. Now I've got to make sure not to end the wrong stream. So we're live on recording in progress. Good. I'm going to edit and change the thumbnail because my thumbnail man, DSLR Dave, made a great thumbnail. I wasn't ready to put it in yet because I was going to talk about Elon Musk and the absolute Twitter meltdown, the meltdown of global epic proportions. I was going to get my links in order. We've got an interview at 1:00 with the Democracy Fund talking about the inquiry. So at 1:00, we might have someone come on before then to talk about something else, but I need to get finalized on a few details. So I wasn't ready to go live, but then I see that the stream on the second channel has gone dead because my computer went dead. And And I don't know how long it was dead for. And then I tried to set it up in a panic, but then accidentally set it up on the main channel, not the second channel. So we're going to run with it. We're going to run the stream on the main channel today. Dark. So let me ask you this. Whoever was watching before, let me go to Rumble. When did the stream go dead during Slowly's testimony? Like, how long was the gap between the live stream going down and me setting it back up on the second channel? Never dropped on my end. Oh, okay, good. That's a Crash Bandit says never dropped on my end. Someone says wondered what happened. Okay. Anyhow, either way, good morning. I was only ready to go in the afternoon, but we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Let me get the lighting a little better here, like that. Oh my goodness, who's following Twitter? So the deal is done. Remember that once upon a time, was it Dave Smith who told Elon Musk, you should buy Twitter? And then he said, how much does it cost? If nobody knows, I have to keep that screen in the background. If nobody knows where this all got started, although, maybe it didn't get started there. Hold on. Let me just go open up a window. We'll talk about everything. We're going to talk about the incident on Nancy Pelosi's husband, Twitter meltdown. I forgot to cover a story yesterday that I really wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, crack those. Sorry, that's rude. That's impolite, and I criticize. I tell my kid not to crack her knuckles, but then I go ahead and do that. Why? Because kids are always the best scapegoat. They're usually the culprit, and parents are hypocrites. It's a known fact. Parents tell their kids not to do the things that the parents do because no parent wants their kids starting off life with bad habits. We are invariably going to get into certain bad habits, but you don't want your kids developing them too early. Elon Musk, Dave Smith buy Twitter. Okay, here we go. Check this out. Some people don't necessarily appreciate. I don't know if it got started here, but we can pretend for the sake of the story that this is where it started. DaveSmith.com. I don't know who Dave. Dave Smith is a comic. Here. I love Twitter, says Elon Musk. This is December 21, 2017. I love Twitter. You should buy it then. To which he says, how much is it? What I'm going to do is go ahead and just screen grab that. That's where it started, potentially. Dave Smith, news guy, host of Refresh Insider. Well, it's done. It's done. Lawsuits, threats of lawsuits, it's done. And by the way, it's not just done. Parag Agrawal fired. It's done. Elon has taken over. And he's cleaning house. Elon Musk, where is this from? This is from Insider, updated 14 hours ago. Elon Musk's first move as Twitter's new owner has been to fire at least 4 top executives, including CEO Parag Agrawal. No, thank you. I don't want to sign up. Elon Musk fired at least 4 top Twitter executives after becoming the platform's new owner. The execs include Parag Agrawal, Ned Siegel. I don't know who these people are. Legal. Oh my God. Tell me his name is not Legal Siegel. Come on. Okay. I don't really get into the whole, what's it called? Simulation. But the head legal at CEO, the chief, oh, darn it. No, that would have been good. It's legal and policy head Vijay Gadde. Okay, no. Oh, Vijaya Gad. Saw her on it was Joe Rogan with Tim Pool. Oh, it would have been so good if the Ned Siegel were the chief legal. Anyhow, COO Ned Siegel, legal and policy head Vijaya Gad, whom we saw with Jack Dorsey on that episode, the podcast with Joe Rogan and Tim Pool, and general counsel Sean Edgett. Twitter and Musk fought for months over his attempt to back out of the acquisition. What do we got here? Elon Musk fired at least 4 top execs. It's a first of all, I do actually want to see what their severance was. I don't like revel in anybody, in anybody's suffering. I don't, I have all of the issues in the world with the execs of Twitter and what they've done to this company over the last however long. Don't revel in their misery. And there's no but. It wouldn't have happened if they had done their jobs properly. None of this would have happened if they hadn't treated Twitter like it was not a public forum, public square, public discourse, whatever. None of this would have happened if they had not been partisan hacks using Twitter as a weapon for political influence. None of this would have happened had they run the company responsibly, ethically, and consistently, and apolitically. That being said, they're out. Now, they probably got out with, I don't know, however, tens of millions of dollars. Let's see if we find here, if we see it. The executives fired include, yada, yada, yada. At least one of the fired executives was seen escorted out of Twitter's San Francisco headquarters, per the sources. Insider reached out to Musk, Agrawal, Siegel, Gad, and Twitter for comment. Musk, who wanted to walk away from his initial purchase for $44 billion, made a U-turn on the offer in October. Okay, we saw that. His acquisition of the social media sparked concerns. Concerns? Dude, we're going to go through my Twitter feed. It hasn't sparked concerns. Oh, it's concerns among employees? It hasn't sparked concerns among employees. It's sparked meltdowns among employees and among others. One shared with Insider what it was like before Musk reached the deadline close to the deal. Let's hear it. Well, where is it? Forget it. We'll go later. What was Parag Agrawal severance? I guess that's going to... yeah. They're fired. Take your $15 million and don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. Oh, Twitter's top executives stand to make a total of $88 million between them. If Elon ousts them, here's the payday for each executive. That's what we want to see. Yada, 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 yada. Musk just took... Okay. Getting fired by Musk will likely give the executives some of the largest payouts they've ever seen. Through, quote, change in control provisions in employment contracts for top leadership, they will receive a certain amount of severance and an automatic acceleration of their salaries so long as Musk fires them. I presume it would be unless they're fired for cause. So this is, to bear in mind, people, no legal advice, hashtag no legal advice, yada, yada, yada. You all know the rules. And then I'll get into the standard intros. There's termination without cause, which is you can fire whenever you want, and you have to pay a certain severance, a certain amount, depending on laws, depending on state laws, whatever. Some states don't even have these laws, but you can have them built into your contracts. I'm pretty sure in every jurisdiction, even right-to-work jurisdictions where you can't fire willy-nilly, you can always fire for cause. This is not going to be a fire for cause. This is going to be sort of like a cleaning house, kind of like, what some think Trump ought to have done when he came into office. Just get rid of the old administration because they're not going to help you. When you come into Twitter as the new owner, you could bet that the people who have been running the company in a way that is diametrically opposite to your stated purpose for taking over the company in the first place, you're probably going to want to clean house. It's not going to be firing for cause. It's not like Parag was guilty of some form of sexual harassment or stealing from the company. So it's termination. And they have undoubtedly, clearly, built into their contracts penalty clauses for termination of the contract. Getting fired by Musk will likely give the executives some of the largest payouts they've ever seen. Change in control provisions in the employment contract, they'll receive a certain amount of severance and an automatic... I already read that. The provisions are disclosed in regulatory filings. Oh, let's open that up in the background. Oh. My goodness. The numbers that just don't make sense to regular people. Okay, doesn't matter. We'll get there later. Agrawal, who saw Musk turn on him months ago, I think he might have turned on him earlier than that, is set to receive the largest payout of $38.7 million, due largely to the entirety of his shares vesting upon his firing. Ned Siegel, Twitter's chief financial officer, is set to receive $25.4 million payout for getting fired. I wonder what they're going to have to pay in terms of taxes. Vijay Gad, chief legal officer, will leave with $12.5 million. Sarah Parsonet, the chief customer officer, would get 11.2 million. That's a lot of money. In the months between Musk taking a large investor stake in the company and becoming its new owner, Twitter executives have remained largely silent in public. When Agrawal attempted back in April to chastise Musk for some of his public comments about the platform, it led to Musk quickly turning on him and denouncing his intent to take over the company. Now Musk will likely have to pay Agrawal on the way out. Yeah, something tells me like $80 million of a $44 billion acquisition is a drop in the bucket. I mean, it is a drop in the bucket. It's just a question of how big a drop and how big a bucket. But we should be live on Rumble. We are live on Rumble. Here. I didn't put the links up because I accidentally went live before I intended to do anything. We're live on Rumble. Here it is. Boom shakalaka. A super chat that I missed. Here we go. The question is if he also purged the CIA agents that run the platform as well. Hot pockets. I neither affirm nor can contradict that statement. I am merely reading a super chat. There have been some theories that Twitter, a company which did it run at a profit at any point in time? I know I've asked this before. Yes, Viva is a Trudeau shield. You got me, Moose Nut. You got. I know I asked it like what their profitability was, because there's very few companies that can remain in business, in legitimate business, while not being profitable, unless they have other forms of profitability that are super financial, not meta financial, that are beyond financial. And those typically tend to be like intelligence type agencies. If Twitter exists, if its value is not in the profits it makes by way of sales, its benefit might be in intelligence, in gathering information, in manipulating for political purposes. Guys, I'm going to set up the stream on the separate stream anyhow, just so that people can watch this without. Unless we want to watch this together for a bit and then just keep going back and forth. You guys want to watch the hearing for a bit? Here, let's bring it back in. Here, hold on. Sorry. Before the break, you were crying.
Weekend and how it hit everyone really hard. I'd like to take you now to January the 31st.
Exactly like
which
the CBC.
I believe is the Monday after.
Yes, sir.
We've heard from Deputy Chief Ferguson that was when the executive team realized that
Let's do this for a few minutes.
lawful
I'll set up
protest
the
has
stream
now
again
turned into
properly
an
on the second
illegal
channel.
occupation. That was her evidence, and I'm interested in your view on that.
My view is it was unlawful the moment a law was broken in relation to the events. And so for me, that was
when was
clearly the Saturday morning.
It was unlawful after the first day.
I don't want to in any way interpret Acting Deputy Chief Ferguson's impression. I think I would position the 31st as we now know this is going to be a longer term occupation. There are fortifications and there is an alarming level of public safety issues writ large.
Unlawful.
And we're going
the day
to have
after
to
it
pivot
started.
our plan to now address the current context and near future context that we're going to be dealing with. So it's in that context that perhaps, again, I don't want to misinterpret, but perhaps the full command is fully on the same page and the incident command team is pivoting the plan now into the next phase of this occupying period.
Tell us about that pivot. What did the executive team decide to do?
I don't know if there's any significant decision. I mean, we needed a significant update on the intelligence threat risk. Much of that was in place in the build-up and iterations, but we now needed to escalate to another level. And again, that cycle of intelligence threat risk assessment to then feed the pivoting operational plan. To what extent are we going to need different resources, greater levels of resources in one area versus another area? And to what extent do we need to build out sub-plans and other things? For me at the chief of police level is what resources are we going to need? What do I now need to do to inform and or engage other levels, including the oversight body of the Ottawa Police Services Board, the City of Ottawa, and other factors. And I was still trying to understand really what had just arrived in our city. What really was it? And even just level set my own understanding, never mind the work that was being done on behalf of me through Deputies Bell and Acting Deputy.
It's going to start crying
Deputy
again?
Bell described that first week as a period of orientation or reorientation. Do you agree with that description?
I think I understand the theme behind it. I would probably use different language, but I think it's definitely what just happened. How do we now need to reorient, to reassess, and then start to address the situation going forward?
Illegal protests
So
after
before
the
the
Saturday.
convoy
It started on a
arrived,
Friday.
we've seen an initial plan dated January the 28th.
Yes, sir.
What was the understanding now in terms of going forward, in terms of the need for a new plan?
Well, there was no need for a new plan. There was a need for an evolution of the plan that we had, an evolution of the threat risk assessment that was in that plan. Again, I want to make it clear there was only ever one plan. There were many iterations of it. There was only ever one threat risk assessment. There were many iterations of it.
So what was the understanding then about this, the need for this new evolved plan?
On the Monday, the 31st,
Yes.
probably the number
that's when
one
I-
thing at
that's when I
that
showed
point
up.
was staffing.
To see what was
And
going
how
on.
did you go about achieving that?
Oh, it was after they broke a
Again,
law.
without
So
the absence
that-
of my notes, but
that Nazi flag
as simple as how
becomes
many
even
more
more
officers
meaningful.
can we redeploy from our overall complement of policing a city of 1 million people in the nation's largest municipal geography to that micro core of the red zones and the immediate neighborhoods around it. I think by that point, again, I'd stand to be corrected if the records say otherwise, but at that point, we had already started to look at changing our shift hours to create a greater volume of officers available, officers and civilian members. I don't know if we had at that point reached out to the association, the Ottawa Police Association, to start to negotiate a whole different shift schedule. That might have come later on in the week, but that was the focus. And then external resource requests, requests that went to OPP and other police services to send additional resources on top of what they had provided us already.
So around that period, January 31st and the next few days, did the OPS start reaching out to other external agencies for help?
Yes, absolutely.
Tell us what steps you or the other members of the executive team did.
Okay, this is-
Predominantly,
it's going to get boring real fast.
sort of happens at two levels. The agency to agency relationships would already be, phone calls and text messages to people that they knew in other agencies. You'll get something formal from the chief, but we need X, Y, and Z. And then
Z
the
or
formal
Z?
request
I
would
thought-
come up through Acting Deputy
thought it
Chief
was Z.
Ferguson, and then I would make a reach out to the respective agencies. So probably my approach for the main, I may have deviated every now and then, would be a text message to the chief of police or commissioner saying that you'll be getting a formal request, but I'm looking for X or Y or Z. And then my executive assistant would produce the document and I would forward that formally. Once I got a positive response, the positive response I would then forward to our legal services department and they would go through the process of enabling a memorandum of understanding, an MOU.
And now I want to get a better understanding of the options that were opened while the OPS were reaching out for external help. So I want to take you to a document, OPS 405631.
Okay, we are now live on the second channel with this very same thing, which we're going to listen to this for 5 more minutes. Then we're going to end it on the main channel. Anybody who wants to watch this painful torture all day
just
long,
looking at the top, it says public order.
Check on the other
truck
channel.
Convoy de-escalation planning meeting, February 1st, 2022. Do you have, perhaps we can scroll down a little so you can familiarize yourself. It says there's a meeting with the chief. Can we go down further? There are a number of discussion points. So, for example, the third bullet, there's a notation that every single option to be explored and is open to discussion. He is happy to come back and further discuss anything if we need him to. He, I take it, refers to you.
Yes, sir.
So if we go down further, PLT would like one more attempt to speak with every convoy to get them on the same page. We scroll down further. Every POU we ask for will not be released to come to Ottawa as protests happening now everywhere. We might not get the staffing numbers we asked for. So there are a couple of things I wanted to ask you to comment on. First of all, there's a reference to things happening elsewhere. What can you tell us about that?
I believe by the 31st, I'm certain, unless I'm really off base, but Coutts, Alberta was already in play at that point. On the Monday, I don't recall any other Ontario sites. I don't even think the announcement of the, on the Monday, on the Tuesday, by then there might have been
I've been going
some
through
sort of
my old
indication that there
streams
would be an event in Toronto around
just to
Queen's
refresh my
Park.
memory.
Mhm.
Pull
But I
some
don't think there was
clips.
any other active sites in Ontario. There were, I believe, some demonstrations at other provincial capitals across the country, but for sure Coutts was active and clearly being televised, and we were seeing, I was getting briefings from Commissioner Lucky on the events out there.
So by this time, which I believe was February the 2nd or the 1st, February the 1st, I believe, things are happening elsewhere. And if we go back to the top, one of the discussion points, do you see the third bullet from the bottom? It says POU units across the province needed. What does that refer to?
So maybe I could just give some context to the meeting.
Please.
So this is a Tuesday. We are significantly into the pivot at this point.
Okay. We're all set up and
I had
we're good.
received varying levels of input, some of them just random emails, some of them very specific conversations with people with a lot of experience in unprecedented, unusual public safety events. And the validation that I was getting from small I information to large
Chat,
I,
let me put up a poll. We'll put up a
information-based
5-minute poll.
expertise was this was
Who wants to
unprecedented.
continue listening to
was
this on the main
larger
channel?
than your police
Let's see
service is
here.
going to be able to handle. It
Poll.
was national and in some cases
Continue
international in
with this
scope.
rubbish
It was fueled by
or
significant funding, significant deep misinformation, disinformation, and polarization, just to name a few.
polarization.
This meeting was my first attempt to sit down with Acting Deputy Chief Ferguson as a major incident commander. I had asked for Inspector Lucas to be at the meeting. He could not attend, and I respect his reason, although I don't know it specifically. I think Inspector Morin was sent
how do I
as
put a
his
poll in
designate,
here?
I think, but he was a senior officer from the ICS team that was there. Staff Sergeant
How do we
Mike
get a-
Stoll, who
do a
was the
poll? I
ESU
wanna do a
commander,
poll.
our
Start a poll. Here
POU
we go.
commander. And
What
he,
does ESU stand for?
emergency safety unit, I think, or emergency services unit. Sorry, it's been a little bit of time.
It's synonymous with POU.
You want to cry again?
Essentially, but broader, I think actually a broader use of trained officers that are actually more effectively deployed. A really good practice here that Ottawa should be recognized for, Ottawa Police Service should be recognized for.
There's a poll.
And I had brought with me the two PLT supervisors because I had feedback internally that our PLT members weren't being optimally
Provincial or
used and
police
were feeling
liaison
out of the
teams.
loop of substantive discussions like this.
The
And I had
police liaison
requested that
team.
the two supervisors be there, and they were there, and you see their contributions later on in the notes. But this is the substantive first time that I'm sitting down with the incident command thread, strategic, operational, and tactical, asking, what are you folks seeing? How are you assessing this? No decisions being made here.
We're going to do
I need situational awareness.
1,000
I need
votes,
your
and then we're going
assessment.
to decide.
We had been blessed with
Thus far,
commanders
move
of
on
some
is
expertise
well in the
and
lead.
experience from other jurisdictions that were in that room. I think London was there. I can't remember if Durham. I believe there was an OPP commander. I can't recall, but
You
there were at
down with
least
OPP?
three other agencies in the room. So it wasn't just us talking to us. There was a healthy amount of external expertise. And we went through what I would call, I won't say it's a whiteboarding session, but a consultation discussion session that I wanted to get to at some point to, okay, well, this is good now. What's the move forward coming out from this? So that's the context of this meeting.
Mhm.
I'll pause there if you want to come back to the question
No,
that you
I'm
wanted
going
me
to
to
pause there
ask,
because
answer.
I didn't pee
because
before
I'm
doing the
interested
stream.
in this
I'll be back.
notation that POU units across the province
Yes.
needed.
So I'd say around the midpoint of that meeting, I would have almost turned to Michelle Morin and Mike Stoll, who were sitting to my right, and said, what's the level of POU that you would think we would need to start to dismantle the red zone and end the occupation? And then there was like a real-time discussion between my folks and the other POU commanders in the room. There were others that were chiming in. It was mainly a POU discussion. And I've been in them many other times before, so I know how this feels. I just sort of sat back and watched this new generation of experts do their thing, and it was kind of cool to watch. And within a really short period of time, it was almost unanimous. This may not be the exact language, but it's close to it. We're going to need everything in Ontario and a bunch more from across Canada. That was one of the moments where I truly understood the scale of what we were facing. Everything in Ontario and a bunch more from across Canada.
This
for
guy
me was state visits,
slowly has
an
one
Olympic
job
event,
here: protect his own incompetent butt.
GHG20. Nothing else.
G20.
requires that.
There was actual violence at the G20.
That's when
slowly.
I truly understand from people with amazing expertise from different jurisdictions. Add on to that, whatever other resources we're going to request, that's somewhere already in the range of 600, 700, 800 officers, plus investigators, plus boots on the ground officers, plus dispatchers, analysts, special constables to handle mass arrests. The number is going to be well north of 1,000, and it's way more than we will ever be able to supply within the Ottawa Police Service, within the eastern region of Ontario.
Jacoby
within
in
the
a
province.
Rumble says he was
So that
sabotaged. I'm
recognition
curious
came
about that.
as early as February 1st.
Yes, sir.
Now, if we go down a little,
All right, I realized waiting for 1,000
first
votes in
box
this
under
poll is
discussion point,
unrealistic because there's
I
only
read a bit
1,000
from it,
watching
earlier.
on
PLT
YouTube.
would like one more attempt to speak.
We'll go to
with every
500. Come on,
convoy
people, get in
to
there,
them on
vote.
the
Do we
same
move
page.
on? Do we
Truckers
stay?
need
Do we
to
do both?
clear all the roads and stop honking in exchange for fuel and a place to park.
We'll honk for
Have
fuel.
zero room to negotiate. If they don't deal with it in this way, they will be removed. Why is it that there was zero room to negotiate?
Oh, it's so dangerous.
I
It's
don't
so
know. I'm
disruptive.
assuming this is the PLT contribution to the discussion. So I don't, these aren't my notes, and it doesn't seem to be attributed to one or both of the supervisors. I don't know if this is their briefing contribution in totality, so I'm not sure what
Right.
that means.
I was just curious because it appears that the PLT would like more time, more opportunity to speak to the convoy. And then perhaps there was another view expressed, no room to negotiate. I was just wondering if you could enlighten us on what this discussion was about.
So again, there were some 20 people in the room, and it was really an open forum discussion with people just contributing ideas in a very fluid way.
Right. If I could take you now to the next document, the next day, OPS 30-14484.
I'm getting the links for the stuff that we want to talk about.
So if we go to page 22. Now, Chief Slowly, do you have a practice of making notes to yourself, sending yourself emails as reminders or things like that?
Yes, I do, sir.
And would this be one of those examples?
Yes, sir.
So here we read, advise that all options on the table needs to consider the...
Sorry, can you, I'm just not sure the context for date or time of this. Sorry.
Yes.
Call with mayor, and it's the timestamp. at least on the
337
entry is
votes. It
130.
looks like there's an
And
insurmountable
we see a
lead for
name
move
on
on.
the top left. Maria
Fortunato.
Fortunato? Who's that?
That's my executive assistant, or was my executive assistant.
So
Remind us what
the
happened.
content
Mr. Slowly.
of the email, which is, I guess, note to yourself,
Imagine that this guy was
says,
crying
advise that
about
all
the
options on the
protest.
table needs to consider the political option. What roles can Premier and PM play in diffusing the demonstration It is not my legal responsibility to end a demonstration. It is my legal responsibility to provide adequate and effective policing to serve and protect the city/citizens. What was the purpose of this note to yourself?
At this point, I actually didn't have an assigned scribe, so I was trying in real time to capture information around conversations that I thought were important or a point that I was trying to remember. So it's not a consistent practice with every single meeting that I would go back and do this. That's the context of the note. I don't know if that answers your question, sir.
And since the subject at the top says call with mayor
Yes.
with re-demonstration, does that capture some of the contents of the call
Some of it, yes, sir.
on the 2nd of February?
I didn't mean to
Yes.
bring this chat up. I
Now, on
meant
that
to
same
bring.
day, you made a
Voted. Move
public
on.
announcement that turned out to be
By the way,
somewhat
I've
controversial.
I've lined up
Do you know what
a
I'm
guest,
talking about?
another
I
guest.
think I can guess what's coming, sir.
Okay, give me your guess.
There may not be a policing solution to this
Why did you say that?
for all the reasons that we've talked about. The size and scale of the events were not going to be able to be handled by any one police jurisdiction.
There might not
certainly
be
not
a
mine.
policing solution to this.
That this was a national scope event. It started from corners of all parts of Canada and arrived in our city. It was already by the 2nd in several other locations, Coots specifically. I think by the 2nd, there would have been some indication that
did he
Queen's
mean-
Park in Toronto would have been a location.
There was not going to be a policing
This
solution
was
to
borne
it,
out
as
by
in
a wide
political
variety
solution
of
or a military one?
polarizing issues, not the least of which was the vaccine mandates, but there were many other anti-government sentiment expressed at all three levels of government.
Anti-government.
And some of this was just people looking to come into our city and participate in an event to have an unruly and in many cases unlawful party.
Liar! You liar!
This was the underpinnings
Look at
that
him looking up as he lies.
created this event and brought it substantially
Oh, they wanted
into
to have
our
an
city.
unruly and
Were
unlawful
well beyond
protest.
the Police Services Act mandate of me as a police chief and the Ottawa Police Service.
You know what?
in the
Slowly,
policing
you got what
jurisdiction.
you
And we're
deserve
going to
because
have
you're
to
out of
engage
touch.
other elements of
If
civil
that's what you
society
think the people want.
and likely all three levels of government in make in some way a meaningful contribution to a sustainable solution to the end of it.
What a liar.
What was
Oh,
the context?
He
in
knows
which
what
you
the
made this
people just wanted a
statement?
party. They drove across the
I
country
believe
for
there
a
was
party slowly.
I can't remember if it was a board meeting or if it was a
412
council meeting
votes,
that
waiting
the
for
board was in
500
attendance
votes.
at.
Come on.
There was a range of questions for hours, and at some point, one of the questions elicited that
Pathetic.
response.
And how was your
Slowly,
comment
he's got it pegged.
received?
People drove
If there are 35 million people in
3,000
Canada,
kilometers
probably
for a
35
party
million
in
different
Ottawa to
ways.
be unruly. Moron.
Do you feel that you were understood?
No,
Do I feel
largely
what?
misunderstood, but
Oh,
by a lot of
misunderstood.
people, very understood.
And have you had a chance to reflect on the statement you made since the time you made it?
A lot.
Yeah, crime.
And what conclusions have you come to?
It needed to be more clear.
Okay. What did you need to be more clear on?
No, they came for a party.
That the
They just,
Ottawa
they just
Police
want to break
Service
the law.
is doing and will
And then when they got
continue
there,
to
they
do
didn't.
everything we possibly can do. Just to be clear, that was literally the substantive answer I was giving during that meeting. All options are on the table. We're doing everything we can. We're calling all the staffing we can. We are rearranging our plan. We're calling out to our partners. So before that statement was made, it wasn't made in a vacuum. We were hours into a long meeting with multiple questions from multiple stakeholders. I believe my board were present. I stand to be corrected. City councilors, the mayor, what are you doing? How are you going to end this? When is it going to end? Please understand, we're doing everything we can and we'll continue to do everything we can on a repeat loop. But at some point, this isn't going to end just by the Ottawa Police Service. Even if we could find a way to get all the resources we
How
need,
is it going to end?
it's going to come back again
Political
next week,
or military?
the month after, Canada Day. This is a larger movement or series of movements. This is a trend that's happening across the country and around the world.
Is it
And
political
so there
or
needs to be
military
more
decision?
than just a policing solution to it.
What?
That's the
Slowly.
context. Now, I did reflect on it. And in the days and weeks and now months after that,
Yeah.
I've, in opportunities like this, expanded on that short phrase.
Yeah, what do you mean?
I think there's ample documentation in my notes, scribe notes that talk about me explaining this further to the chair at board meetings and other conversations.
Did you mean
and
a
meetings.
political
I didn't just
solution
leave
or
it
a
till
military
now
solution?
to provide a more fulsome explanation. Within hours and days of it, I was trying to provide that more fulsome explanation to my board oversight and to other public bodies and civil actors.
Now, there are those who may say that your statement fostered a perception among the public and the protesters that the OPS was vulnerable and unable to police the convoy. What do you say to that?
Again, like my
He's gonna
earlier
cry.
comment, sir, everyone is entitled to their opinion and they're certainly entitled to their feelings. And I can understand that if that was the only thing they heard from me and they were not
479
available to
votes.
hear all the other efforts I
21
made
more
to
votes,
clarify
people.
that could leave them with a sense that we'd just given up. So I'm not challenging that. But let me be clear. I don't
me be
know
clear.
if that is different from any other statement I've made around the role of policing in society. If you recall my earlier comments when I introduced my approach to policing and how I did it, the police are not going to solve guns and gangs and drugs on their own without education, healthcare, social services, the volunteer sector, communities themselves. The
496
police are
votes.
not going to be able to solve sexual assaults on their own without advocacy
500.
groups and
It's over.
legislative change.
We're done.
So there
End
isn't
poll.
any major aspect of policing, crime
We're
management,
moving on
order
after the
management,
sentence.
traffic management, even traffic management. We can't patrol the amount of highways unless we have bylaw changes, signage changes, engineering changes that are well beyond the remit of the police service to demand and deliver. So for me, this is a consistent theme that I have spoken on and acted in accordance throughout my entire policing career. It wasn't for me an unusual statement, but it was heard in unusual and unprecedented circumstances and misinterpreted broadly, badly.
Do you think that the lack of clarity of the statement might have risked contributing to a loss of public trust in the ability of the police to respond?
I can't rule that out, sir, but I think I made enough efforts after that to clarify that, and demonstrably the Ottawa Police Service kept, with its partners, kept putting out everything we possibly could for as long as we could. I would very strongly suggest well past where we should have been. Our actions should have spoken louder than words, but unfortunately, by Saturday afternoon, there had been a cemented narrative, and I don't think it ever changed. My statement probably didn't help it.
Sorry, we're done. I'm going to take my headphones off because I don't need to hear this now. Put the headphones here. Should I put my hair up? Samurai ponytail? Let's do it. Oh, yeah, people. If I didn't look, no, that's too crazy. That's too crazy. Okay, we're just going to go like this. Holy crab apples. Highlight of the day. The day's not over. Chief Slowly, former Ottawa Police Chief Slowly, crying because of the stress and the... I mean, here's the thing. He was fired, I don't know, demoted, whatever you want to call it. I have no doubt his tears are genuine. Like when Alec Baldwin cried during the interview with, was it George Stephanopoulos? When Alec Baldwin cried during his interview, it was Stephanopoulos. The tears were real, but he wasn't crying about what he did. He was crying about what happened to him. He was crying about his vision, his future, his own, personal dream, his own aspirations. He was crying at the death of those and not actually at what he did. No man bun, ban the bun. Well, how about just a ponytail? Like this is, if I just put it, like it's long enough now, I can just put it into a, you see like that, but I feel naked. And, okay, so here's what's happening, by the way. This is going to be very, very short notice and just confirmed. Now, you all are familiar with, we're going to get back to Elon Musk. We're going to get back to Twitter. We're going to get to a story about Stop it. Stop it. Thank you. We're going to get back to this story that I forgot to get to yesterday about, it's a little known fact that countries have vaccine injury programs. Canada's got one. The US has got one. Australia's got one. Buddha, 3 things cannot long be hidden: the sun, the moon, and the truth. There are some numbers you can argue about. What's his face? I'm going to forget who said it. 3 types of lies. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. Benjamin Disraeli said that. Benjamin Disraeli, I believe, is the one who said it. 3 types of lies. Lies, damned lies, and statistics. Well, there's things that you can argue about, and then there's things that are going to be much more difficult to argue about if the numbers are accurate. The only defense to this are going to be the numbers can't be accurate. They paid out the payouts for vaccine injuries in Australia, according to an article from the Epoch Times, has ballooned. Not 2-fold, 3-fold, 80-fold. We'll get to it. It's going to be tough to figure. It's going to be tough to get around that one. Figures lie and liars figure. And statistics can be used to prove anything. 87% of the people know that. Homer Simpson. Okay, we're going to get to all of that. This is something that I've been seeing it in the chat. I haven't been avoiding it to avoid it. I'm a very, that I'm neurotic, but I call it cautious, but I'll call it neurotically cautious or cautiously neurotic. Jeremy McKenzie was on the channel. We did a massive live stream where we went over everything. Jeremy McKenzie, founder of Diagolon, domestic threat to national security, arguably the reason, or at least one of the reasons for which the Emergencies Act was invoked by Justin Trudeau to combat Diagolon, ideologically motivated violent extremist group that's gained notoriety online. One of the people arrested in Coutts allegedly had a Diagolon patch on a vest that was allegedly found with a bunch of other allegedly unlawful firearms. So Jeremy was on the channel. We did a long stream where we talked about everything. Then, it was the same week, and I think it was the day before or a couple of days before or shortly after, roughly around the same time, a story breaks about him having allegedly violently assaulted his ex-girlfriend in Saskatchewan. And that story circulated around, and the internet is what it is. People think they're going, oh, Viva, why are you giving this guy a platform? Yada yada yada. Okay, Jeremy was on. He was standing. He was facing charges for unlawful firearm possession, a bunch of charges, which we went over. Okay. There's nothing bad about Diagolon. True. Now, some people are their own worst enemies, and Jeremy, a man who seeks to be edgy, seeks to be in your face. Shortly after that interview, might not have been so shortly, but after that interview, then made the rounds again because of a joke he made about doing something very, very assault of a sexual nature to Pierre Poilievre's wife. There's certain rules that people tend to generally abide by on the internet. You keep people's family out of things to the extent that they're unrelated. There's other rules that you don't make jokes about that type of stuff, period. And why not? Well, A, they're not funny, by and large. They're not funny. B, people hear different things on the internet. You say something as a joke, someone doesn't hear it as a joke. C, it's just over the top, inappropriate, offensive. Think what you will about free speech. Free speech, in as much as you can be as much of a free speech absolutist as you want to be, doesn't mean saying whatever you want to say just for the sake of saying it and free speech, and you can't criticize me for doing it, especially when it can be misunderstood, misinterpreted. So after that interview, Jeremy McKenzie, doing one of his community streams, drinking alcohol, maybe, I don't know, other stuff, you get the warm feeling of invincibility to make whatever edgy jokes you want, says something that is indefensible, period. as relates to Pierre Poilievre's wife. You can say freedom of speech, you can say comedy, edginess, whatever. It's not something I'm going to defend, full stop. That being said, whether or not it's criminal, I'll leave that to the authorities and the court system to decide whether or not that comment could be construed as a bona fide threat, as other forms of unlawful or criminal harassment, whatever. But indefensible, as far as I'm concerned, and you can call me whatever you want. This is not about preventing someone from saying what I think is indefensible. It's about me saying, go ahead and say it. You'll suffer the consequences. And I find it indefensible. So Jeremy did that as he's facing these charges, makes enemies, or at the very least, makes it very difficult for allies to continue defending Jeremy McKenzie because that statement itself is so indefensible on its face. But those are separate issues. So a lot of people had to pull back, distance themselves, say, look, Jeremy McKenzie, I believe in the Freedom Convoy. I believe in a lot of stuff. Don't believe in what he said. And it was a stupid thing to say, especially since it gives all the political fodder to adversaries to discredit the individual and the movement. It's not just unfair for Jeremy McKenzie. It's unfair for the people who followed Jeremy McKenzie, who supported him, and for the movement that Jeremy McKenzie himself supported. Now people get to say, "Ooh, this is what the Freedom Convoy is all about, making jokes about sexual assault and etc." Whatever. So he makes that joke, gets back in the public headlines, and then shortly thereafter gets arrested, apparently on a national warrant. Nationwide warrant. A federal national warrant. That was September 21st. Not September, October. It was late October. He gets arrested and hasn't been heard from in any meaningful sense since. He's been in jail since. And I've been hearing stories about the conditions of his detention, the terms of his detention, and it's very difficult to report on these things because analysis, breakdowns are one thing, but when you're dealing with stories for which there's very little public information and media doesn't really see, the mainstream Canadian legacy media gives this many ounces of shits about Jeremy McKenzie. For all they care, he could in fact be in solitary confinement, and good for him, he deserves it because guilty until proven innocent. And so I've heard the stories. I've been people reaching out, and I think we're going to have his girlfriend who knows more come on in a few minutes to tell us what's going on from her perspective. I can't verify any of this information. I can't vet it. But from what I've been hearing about his terms of detention, where he is now currently detained and apparently in Saskatchewan, Jeremy could be a convicted criminal, and this is not something that I would tolerate if what I'm hearing are in fact the conditions under which he's being detained. Like this, and this is not partisan, by the way. Like I'll vocally say that 9 years for 9 years for marijuana importation is excessive. I will, however, say don't go to freaking Russia if you think it's run by a genocidal authoritarian fascist and smuggle drugs into the country. Watch Midnight Run. Watch Locked Up Abroad if you have any ideas as to going into countries that you don't trust and messing with the law. But 9 years for that is excessive. When Willie Nash, who got 12 years in jail because he had a cell phone in his prison cell, and he got 12 years, sentenced to 12 years. That's that Midnight Express. What did I say? Midnight Run? Sorry. Midnight Express. Midnight Run, I think, was another movie. 12 years for having a cell phone in jail that he didn't even necessarily know was unlawful because that's what the law, unjust, inhumane. When I see, it's not Logan's Run, people. Stop messing with me. When I hear that January 6th defendants are detained for going on 2 years in pretrial detention, it's not because they're on my side of the political aisle. I don't have a side of the political aisle. It's because they're humans and I'm a human. And left or right, white or black, man or woman, straight or gay, injustice is injustice. And it's not because Jeremy McKenzie might be guilty of something. It's not because Jeremy McKenzie might be a loathsome individual to certain people that I'm going to tolerate an injustice to a human, a perversion of our judicial system. But for the grace of God, you could become a political enemy yourself, and people will justify this. So his girlfriend's going to come on in a few minutes and tell us what's going on. She's in direct communication with him. If what's going on is in fact going on, it's not because Jeremy McKenzie might be the founder of Diagolon. You might think he's a domestic threat, a purveyor of ideologically motivated violent extremism, that he made an awful comment about Pierre Poilievre's wife. It's not because all that might even be true that you can justify inhumane treatment of detained individuals. Innocent until proven guilty, I might add. I see someone say, LOL, Viva doesn't have a side, S. Clift. And I don't know if that's in a response to someone else who says Viva clearly has a side, or if that's LOL sarcasm, clearly Viva has a side. I have no side. And that's not to say, however, that Nancy Pelosi, I'll take another example, given what happened. That's not to say that AOC is not an abject idiot. And let me think of someone else. Oh my goodness, I can't. And Joe Kemp is not objective quality in politicians. Dan, I could become somewhat critical of Dan Crenshaw as well. What's my side? I like to think my side is the truth, and not my truth, but rather thorough, thoughtful analysis to come to the conclusion of what the truth is. Viva, isn't ignorance of the law not a viable and or excusable defense in any country? I can't comment on any country. I can't comment on whether or not there are perhaps some exceptions of not knowing some obscure regulation that might otherwise be a legitimate defense. But yes, nul n'est censé ignorer la loi. That's the expression in Quebec. Nul n'est censé ignorer la loi. Ignorance of the law is no defense. Now, what does that mean? Jeremy might be guilty of crimes. Humans still get treated humanely while detained. And innocent until proven guilty typically should result in the pretrial release and not the pretrial detention of individuals who have not yet gone to trial. So Jeremy McKenzie, from what I've heard and from what I understand, has been detained. He was arrested in Nova Scotia, detained and apparently in solitary confinement in Nova Scotia, flown to Saskatchewan, to Saskatoon, I believe, where he's detained there under conditions which have been described to me as being what I think is objectively inhumane. I don't know if it's true. I haven't seen videos. I haven't seen any documents. And this is why it's very difficult to comment on this, to analyze it. I don't know. It's very difficult to know in life at this point, because we don't know the truth unless you see it with your own eyes. And then everybody else says, well, I didn't see it with my own eyes, so why should I believe what you saw with your own eyes? I am not assuming that anybody should have my sense of morality. I know that too many people don't. Now, what I'm going to do, by the way, while Morgan comes, because I see her in the background here, Morgan Mayhem, I need what I'm going to do is temporarily on the other stream, I'm going to bring out the other stream and try to simultaneously have this interview on the other stream. And we're going to have a 15-minute pause on the inquiry. First and foremost, because I still haven't figured out how to only hear one audio, and I cannot listen to that stream while trying to pay attention to this interview with Morgan. So let me figure this out. If everyone watching on the other stream is going to have to deal with this for a second. Okay, I'm going to go here. This is the other stream. I'm going to end this. I'm going to present another screen. It's going to be the present. Hold on, let me see if I can do this. Chrome tab. It's going to be this StreamYard. This is going to work. This is going to work. It's going to be stream and stream. Everybody watching the stream on the other channel now, we're doing an interview with Jeremy McKenzie's girlfriend, or I don't know if we'll see what the relationship is. I don't actually know. the nature of it. And Morgan's going to be, there's a publication ban on the proceedings. The purpose here is to shed some light on Jeremy Mackenzie's being detained and what's going on with him. And everybody else you can come to your own conclusions, whether or not the bastard deserves it, because shouldn't have made that stupid comment. I'm going to have to go pause this. Give me one more second. I need to pause the hearing just so that I don't hear it myself. Oh, I think I found a solution to all of this. Temporary people. Morgan, I'm going to bring you in. Get ready. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Morgan, how goes the battle?
Oh, it's been interesting.
We've never met before. We've spoken, not even spoken, briefly. We've texted. So I know nothing of you. I know nothing of what's going on. I've just heard people reaching out, people making comments that Jeremy's been whisked away. Nobody or very few people have heard from him. And just tell us who you are. Tell us what's going on in the best of your understanding, subject to you're not a lawyer. You might misunderstand things. But what's going on?
Yeah, so I am the queen of Diagolon, Jeremy's common law partner. And I'm trying to advocate for him at the moment. He was arrested in Nova Scotia on our property. That was September the 28th. He was isolated for 5 days in the Central Nova Scotia facility, and then he was transported to Saskatoon, where he isolated for another 5 days at the Saskatoon Correctional Facility. Recently, he has been thrown back into they call it a COVID assessment unit, which is somehow different than an SIU.
Let me stop you actually there, if I may.
Yeah.
Arrested in Nova Scotia.
Mm-hmm.
It's public. On what charges?
Yeah, so I'll just read off the charges. That's probably
and this is to clarify that he has not been arrested or charged that you know of for the Pierre Poilievre wife comments.
No, and I'm not sure that had any influence on his arrest, to be honest. I believe, from what it sounds like, the warrant was extended Canada-wide a couple weeks prior to those comments being made. So he was charged with 1 count of assault, pointing a firearm, using a restricted weapon in a careless manner, and mischief. Yeah.
Do you know when those charges were? The warrant was extended to Canada-wide. Do you know when those charges were issued and what they related to, or what they relate to?
Yeah, I'm just reading. I believe that the report started in March of this year, shortly after Jeremy and I were both arrested for protesting near the chief medical health officer's home.
Yeah, I think Jeremy talked about that on the stream about
a
number of people protesting across the street. Nobody, according to Jeremy, doing anything violent, whatever, and you guys were picked up and arrested.
Right. Yeah, it was a peaceful protest.
Okay, so he's arrested in Nova Scotia. And what happens, to the best of your knowledge, after he's arrested in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, so on Canada-wide warrants, the other provinces, from what I understand, they have 6 days to collect the inmates and transport them. So on day 5, he was transported to Saskatoon, where he was kept in remand and remains in remand. And he had a bail hearing on October 7th. All I can say is that he was denied bail.
Okay. When he was detained in Nova Scotia, do you know under what terms? What was it like? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Yeah. So because he is refusing the COVID-19 PCR or rapid testing, the genetic testing, he was in solitary confinement, not permitted showers or trips outside of his cell. I'm not even sure if that's legal according to Bill C-83 that was assented in 2019. It looks like they're supposed to get 4 hours out of their cell per day and 2 hours of meaningful human contact.
5 days of that in Nova Scotia. Now, and I'll play devil's advocate for a bit. The PCR test is the one that goes up your nose and touches your brain. Not
Correct.
Medically speaking. The other one, did he have an option for an antigen test or a saliva test that you know of?
No, and my understanding is that they are supposed to offer a non-invasive
Yeah.
test. So in my opinion, this breaches the Genetic Non-Discrimination Act. And his concern is that the swabs are coated with the ethylene oxide, which is a known carcinogen, and he's not opposed to testing. He would do a saliva test.
Well, I don't know about the other act, but under the Quarantine Act itself, the test cannot be one that enters the person, which is why, Chris Sky, back in the day, says when you get to the airport, according to him, I give no legal advice, nor would I even give the advice he gave. But he said you can refuse it because they're not allowed sticking something in your body. The spit test becomes a little bit, I say harder to refuse. But I'm wondering now, they're using COVID from what you're saying, and this drives me nuts because this is another weaponization of COVID as an excuse to act inhumanely to even detained individuals. They say, do the PCR test, or for safety, we're going to have to keep you in isolation because you may be infected or you may have become infected.
Correct. And the problem is that anytime new inmates are coming into the facility, he will have to go back and do another 5 days in the COVID assessment unit and it's a dry cell. So there is no toilet, no sink. He gets 2 15-minute breaks per day out of his cell. And during that time, that's when he's supposed to use the washroom, shower, and make phone calls. One is during business hours. One of those breaks is outside of business hours. So it's making it difficult for him to advocate for himself.
So he had 5 days of solitary in Nova Scotia. Let me just ask the question. How do you know? Like, what does solitary mean, and what's he telling you when you get to speak with him?
Yeah, so I have been able to speak with him, I believe, every day since he has been incarcerated, and what he's telling me is that when he's in solitary, I think he has, it's a dry cell. Like I said, no shower, no sink. He doesn't have access to a Bible. He has a TV with one station. I believe it's CTV, which is essentially torture for him.
I don't want to make light of anything, but yeah, that's the joke that needs to be made at that.
Yeah. And yeah, he's having a difficult time getting request forms, medical request forms, envelopes, things that he needs in order to file complaints. But in all honesty, he is supposed to advocate for himself, and he is having a difficult time due to the distress that he's under given the conditions of. My belief is that they're trying to have him use the washroom in his cell so that they can charge him. I've heard that this is something that they do from other inmates. They're trying to get him to misbehave.
And I know that, I know very little, and I know only from recent discussions, but a dry cell, is that where they put people who they suspect have drugs hidden in them so that when they have to go dump or something, that they'll find the drugs in their stool because they have no other place to go?
Correct. Yeah. And I'm not sure. I think they can throw them in there if they're under suicide watch as well, or yeah.
And I'm sure throwing someone in there who's not under suicide watch would not put them under suicide watch. Can I ask a question? I mean, when you say he's suffering mentally, and we're going to get into it because that's the first 5 days. How does that materialize?
Yeah. So I do hear him when he calls me, when he's able to call me, he's under quite a bit of distress. I don't believe, I don't think that he is suicidal. I just want to say that right now. If he dies in jail, he did not kill himself. Needs to be said. But he is so dehydrated, and he's not sleeping, and his anxiety attacks are so bad that he's getting sick. The nurse is not able to help him with that situation. And actually, I made this public yesterday. They wrote on his chart that he is coming off of opioids, but they have done no drug test, no blood test. And so I'm not sure. He actually asked them, are you sure you have the right chart? And they read off his name and said, yes, you're coming off of opioids, which, so I don't know what kind of narrative they're trying to set up in there, but it does seem like they're trying to break him.
And Voluntarist Girl said he's abducted, but look, he's arrested. He has charges. The only issue is typically you get released on bail when you're not a flight risk, which Jeremy is clearly not for a number of reasons. One of which I would assume is vaccination status. To leave the country, you need to show something.
Well, yeah, and I
Um,
think he paid for 2-day, to get his passport back in May. We paid the extra to have 2-day expedited passport. He's being not denied a passport, but they haven't gotten back to him yet.
Okay,
So yeah.
so 5 days solitary, and then how do you find out that he's whisked off to Saskatchewan?
I figured that it was coming, and so when I didn't hear from him, I assumed that's what had happened. And then the next time I spoke to him, he was in Saskatoon, and now he's on his third. I believe this is day 5 of his third, COVID confinement.
So
The
at the
problem is
risk,
he can keep them in there. They can keep him in there indefinitely because as new inmates come in, this will happen each time.
I'm going to Google something while you answer this question. But so then
Yeah.
what happens, and what do you find out about his conditions in Saskatchewan once you find out he's been flown over there?
Yeah, the conditions are worse in Saskatoon than they were in Burnside. I will say one thing about the the central Nova Scotia facility is the food is excellent. They're good to work around uh, diet issues, food sensitivities, and you get lots of fruit, vegetables. Now in Saskatoon, I believe it's a different company that they use. And so he's not getting fruit. The food is a gray paste that he's not sure what's in it. It's slop essentially and bread, peanut butter, crackers. Anything else, he can purchase food from the canteen, but it's mostly junk food. Mr. Noodles, chocolate bars, chips.
I'm going to bring this up because at least it's been reported, so I'm not reporting it. I don't know the extent of the publication ban. I suspect it's details related to the trial, which we're not going to get into. The trial, sorry, the charges and the evidence. Diagolon leader Jamie McKenzie. So he's denied bail in Saskatoon on October 7. Judge Bruce Bauer made the decision after a bail hearing was held Friday in a provincial court. Now, hold on. A Nova Scotian man who identifies himself as the leader of an online alt-right group called Diagolon has been denied bail while facing assault and gun charges stemming from an incident in rural Saskatchewan last year. And we discussed this. I'm fairly certain we discussed this during the stream because I think Jeremy knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Well, the charges were out there and he knew that this story was coming because of what an ex-girlfriend says. Judge Bruce Bauer made the decision after a bail hearing on Friday for McKenzie. I just want to hear the reason. A standard publication ban was ordered, preventing the reporting of any details presented and arguments made during the hearing in order to protect McKenzie's right to a fair trial. He was arrested on September 28 in Cole Harbour, transported to Saskatoon to appear on charges. They got a report of an assault, yada, yada. Okay, so this is public, harassing, intimidation, and this stuff we've all covered. So conditions in Saskatchewan. Solitary?
Correct. Yeah.
Is he crying on the phone? I mean, is not crying as in like pitiful. Is he a broken man?
Yeah, it sounds more like a panic attacks. Previously, during his first solitary, I guess it wasn't so solitary, but he was in the dry cell with one other person, so it wasn't as bad. Now that so that guy must have also refused testing. Now he's just has no form of entertainment, and I was able to communicate with him they have tablets at that facility. It's quite expensive. Essentially, they extort you to speak to your loved ones. But it was a way that I could communicate with him and keep him distracted. And for some reason, that tablet, the signal is not working in his dry cell anymore.
What are you doing to raise? I mean, there's going to be people out there who are going to say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
He's as if he's been convicted. And by the way, I'll say this for anybody out there. He could very well have already been convicted of the charges. This should still shock the conscience of anybody who considers themselves to be Canadian. But he's not even convicted yet.
Yeah. The problem that this could happen to literally any Canadian. That's what I want to reiterate, and that he's not the only political prisoner at the moment there. And you can be charged or accused of whatever, and thrown in jail, denied bail. This literally could happen to you or your loved ones, and it should terrify all Canadians.
Dry cell, from what you understand, solitary because he refuses to take the PCR test because from what you understand, they're not offering the saliva option
Mhm.
or the nasal swab, which is the one that the rapid test that everybody does to cross the border.
Yeah.
Who does he get to speak with and get, visits? Stupid question to ask.
He won't be permitted visits anymore because of, he could give someone the Rona.
As if being vaccinated even has an effect now that we know that you can carry, transmit, and contract it anyhow. The COVID has become the excuse, but
Absolutely.
okay. What
I'm
is he
shocked.
doing?
I'm shocked they didn't do this sooner because of the, the correctional officers coming in and out every day. Technically, he could get it from them.
What are you doing? Let me ask another equally stupid question because I know the answer. I suspect CBC, Global News, legacy Canadian media has zero interest in what's being done to Jeremy behind bars.
I think you'll be surprised. I have quite a few leftist reporters and some who flew to the bail hearing, and they expected one thing, and I think they came out feeling a very different way, and they have gained quite a bit of interest in this story. They know that he is not being treated fairly, and so even though they don't agree with his politics, we have been receiving quite a bit of help, including help from, I want to say, Jeff Leo from CBC, and Tammy Robert. I want to give her a special shout out. She was terrified of Jeremy in the beginning, and now I think she's really starting to understand what he's fighting for, why he's in there, the fact that he's a decorated veteran who fought in Afghanistan for our rights, and that's why he's so passionate. And she does feel that he's being treated unfairly, and she's busting her ass to help him, and we do appreciate it.
Good. Well, Morgan, do me a favor after we're done here. Flip me some of the links or tweets. Although I'll go try to find them, but it'll facilitate it so we can amplify those because people don't understand. It's not to analogize this to anything, but just because they're not coming for you now, when they start doing this and getting away with it under the silence of a polite, uninterested, or malevolent society that thinks that this is justified, there is no limit to it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's surprising, a little encouraging, and
unfortunately, and CBC had they were given permission to go into the jail to execute they were going to do an interview. I assume now that will be revoked because he will be indefinitely kept in solitary.
For science. What are you doing? I mean, look. So he's facing charges in Saskatchewan.
Mm-hmm.
Other legal issues. Going to ask the indiscreet but obvious question: What are you doing for lawyers, and how are you raising funds for this?
Yeah, so Veterans for Freedom has been excellent, and they set up a Give, Send, Go for Jeremy. Unfortunately, we are going to have to increase the goal amount as the lawyer has taken on his charges in Quebec and Nova Scotia as well. So, and everything's happening so quickly that they need to get moving as soon as possible. And it's a lot. There are a lot of moving parts. It's a lot to get new lawyers caught up to speed. And we're on, for this Saskatoon charges alone, we're on lawyer number 3.
And I see you just sent me the Give, Send, Go campaign. So I'll share. I'll link that for anybody who wants to.
Thank you.
At the risk of the government freezing bank accounts for people who donate, because that's Canada now. You just said something about the lawyers. Sorry. Have you noticed politics coming into play in terms of who is willing to take on this file?
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeremy's lawyer in Nova Scotia actually let us both go because of the the comments that were made.
It's amazing. Like O.J. Simpson had a lawyer. I
want to say that because of this, I do feel at least for my case, the judge seems to be sympathetic and not understanding. I fight for freedom, so I want the lawyer to have a choice. If he doesn't feel that he will properly represent us because he doesn't believe in our politics, then I don't, if they need to move on, I would like for them to let us know that sooner rather than later. And I do hope that he's properly represented and that the politics don't come into effect. I mean, they'll represent murderers, but not someone who said some careless words and choice words.
And just to clarify in the chat, he's in Saskatchewan because the charges allegedly result from an alleged assault incident in Saskatchewan. It has nothing to do with the Pierre Poilievre comments, and that's why he was taken from Nova Scotia to Saskatchewan.
Correct.
So, yeah.
I do feel this is uncommon. It's not common he actually spoke to another inmate who had a warrant from Quebec extended Canada-wide because he shot a man and they didn't bother to come pick him up. So I think it's very uncommon for someone with these types of charges to be escorted to another province. And I think that likely political pressure came into play there.
Oh, well, they did it with Tamara Litch for breach of bail conditions. Of course they're going to do it for Jeremy.
Right.
So it's an easier argument to make if you want to make it. So, I mean, I don't know, like, what are you doing? What's Jeremy doing? And what can people who are now watching this and maybe hearing it for the first time, what can they do to increase the spotlight, increase political pressure to maybe just treat Jeremy like a standard inmate or a human being?
I think it's really key right now to reach out to the MLAs, the MPs, especially in Saskatoon, the Premier of Saskatoon. I'm not understanding. It's, in Nova Scotia, he was granted bail. In Quebec, they have not extended his warrant. So why Saskatchewan? Why are they, why are they pushing for this? That's what I want to know. So if people can reach out, I am working on a letter to send that people can copy paste and send out if they wish. I'm just not sure when that will be wrapped up. But I think just sharing his story and his treatment is key right now. I have started a complaint process with the ombudsman. He is supposed to advocate for himself with them as well, and he is supposed to have access to call them anytime he pleases, but because of the way that, he only gets out the 2 times a day, it's very difficult for him to make those phone calls, and it's a lot to wrap up in 10-15 minutes.
Okay. And Morgan, let me ask this question. How are you doing in all of this?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be decorating for a Freedom Barn party. I'm very distracted. I'm not getting much sleep, but I will say I have a huge support system. I'm doing very well. I'm just trying to make sure that the proper people are contacted as soon as possible. My goal is just to get him better treatment ASAP.
Okay. Thank you. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Like someone says in the chat here, let me just pull it up. And this is, from my perspective, it's not that Morgan might be, not that you might be lying. It's like there might be intricacies, nuances that you might not understand in law, but if what you're saying is true, it needs to stop. It's not, Jeremy could be the worst person on earth. This is not what a justice system is about. And just bear in mind that these accusations relate to alleged assault, alleged unlawful pointing of a firearm, mischief from an incident that was a long time ago. If it ever occurred, that there's a reason why people have trials, so that evidence allegations can be tested. And
exactly.
Pre-trial detention on this, when someone is clearly not a flight risk, well, that's one issue. And then this type of detention, because you're not the, I've heard this solitary for PCR refusal. It's inhumane. And so if it's true, it's inhumane. If it's true, it needs to stop. And maybe some actual journalists, I put that in quotes, we'll get on this. But Morgan, keep in touch. Let me know what's going on. Pop back on whenever you want. And thank you. And I say stay strong. But I don't know how people deal with this. But,
thanks. I appreciate it. He's at least been given an opportunity, I'll say, to testify in the public inquiry on next Friday, I believe. So that was one concern we had. We felt that he was being detained so that he would not be able to testify, but that has since changed.
Is he going to be doing that virtually, I presume?
Yes.
All right. They'll make sure he's got it. We'll see if he's got a connection for that. Okay. Well, I'll be watching that at the same time. So Morgan, thank you. The world,
Yeah.
fact check, verify, and it's you watch Chief Slowly cry. We were watching the inquiry, and former Chief Slowly's crying about the Ottawa protests. Meanwhile, your significant other is in solitary, apparently indefinitely for extended period of time in pretrial detention.
Mm-hmm.
This is the new Canada, and it's not acceptable.
Yeah. And if anyone, I know that this is very controversial. I've been I'm an open book. If anyone ever has any questions, I'm pretty backed up on my messages, but I do eventually get back to you. And if there's any issues, I have no problem answering questions.
All right, excellent. Thank you. We'll keep in touch.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Cheers.
Right, bye-bye. It's outrageous. It's a Canada that people are managing to find a way to continue to justify. No, Jeremy's a bad man. Shut your mouth and don't make stupid jokes, and then this doesn't happen to you. No, don't make bad tweets. I'm going to bring up the inquiry, bring it back in the second chat so people can go back and watch it, or people who are still there can watch it. Okay. It's still there. Now, okay, I'm taking this off. At 1 o'clock, we're going to have a representative of the Democracy Fund who's going to be testifying. They're involved in the inquiry. I don't want to mischaracterize who they are or what the organization is. It's the Democracy Fund, which I interviewed during the protest, and they want to talk about what's going on at the inquiry and give an update to the world. So we're going to do that. Raymond, thank you. Give, send, go, Jeremy McKenzie. Let me get that link while we're doing this. Donate at your own risks and peril, people. Justin Trudeau has set the standard for the new Canada. Don't like what someone gave, don't like what someone funded? Freeze their bank accounts. Even if it's a federally incorporated, not-for-profit. Imagine, it's just the people who want to kill freedom, who want to kill civil society. They want to scare people out of talking about certain people just so they can be memory holed and actually literally put in a hole. I see a chat which I'm not going to bring up, but you are 100% correct, whoever wrote it. Go fund Daryl. Who's Daryl? Okay, hold on. Let me get the link. Oh, Daryl. Okay, sorry. The funny thing is, well, I still think he's entitled. I'm going to pull a Jacob Rice from Give, Send, Go. Daryl is entitled to a defense in law. He's also entitled to be convicted and sentenced to life when it's quite clear that his defense is frivolous and abusive. But Daryl, should be able to raise legal fees if anybody is twisted enough to actually donate. They should be free to donate. Well, I'm going to say that certain people get to raise funds for their own criminal defense and others don't, because I don't like the accusations or the conviction. That's not how it works. It's not how it can work, because it doesn't work like that forever. It, in fact, will only work like that for a finite period of time. This appears to be the link for Jeremy's Give, Send, Go, and I'll put it in the chat in Rumble as well. Well, that was interesting and just irritating. Okay, I had some super chats which I missed. Corn Pop, is this live? Yes, Corn Pop, it's live. Welcome back. Good to see you again. Pop your finest bottle of booze, folks. Cheeto Jesus is coming back to Twitter. I'm ready for all the kofefe. My God, this is going to be entertaining. One of the few times where you can actually write the word God out, capital G, not in pencil. It may be one of the times where we're using the Lord's name in vain, if you believe in that. This might be one of those times. I haven't seen this. I'm going to pull this up in 2 seconds. Chris Weinard says, come on, folks, donate to the JCCF and humbly fight for your rights as Canadians. Viva, you're the best, but Keith Wilson is a badass mofo. I know what that stands for. Godspeed. Well, what I can't do in action, I can do by donation. And I gave what is substantial money, yesterday to support them. Viva, I'm jealous of your flowy locks. Sydney Avery, thank you very much. We got a super sticker, Carlos Gaspar. And then we got Corn Pop. I'm being annoying. Corn Pop, you are always welcome in the chat. So that's that. Now, has it been confirmed that Trump is coming back? It's an interesting thing. If Trump comes back to Twitter, is he breaching any obligations that he would have with Truth? If he comes back to Twitter, he's going to kill Truth. Okay, so I don't see anything that confirms that Trump is coming back. Is Donald Trump coming back to Twitter as the meltdown continues? And we'll take a gander through my Twitter feed, because it is a straight up juvenile meltdown of epic proportions. Is Donald Trump coming back to Twitter now that Elon Musk bought the company? This was 2 hours old. Musk indicated he will allow him back. Would be great to unwind permanent bans, says, Musk said, okay, fine. At a conference, I do not think it was correct to ban Trump. Fine. That's not the issue. The issue is not whether or not Musk is going to let Trump back. He will undoubtedly. The question is whether or not Trump would come back, because I think that would pose some conflicts with Truth. There was something, what did he say that was hilarious? He said, said Twitter is now owned by an African American. Trump is the truth troll. Will Trump remain exclusively on Truth Social? Trump has said he would not return even if invited. Musk also said he believes Trump will remain exclusively on Truth Social. But Trump has not gotten the same resonance from his Truth Social app. Arm seems to hurt. On Truth Social, Trump has 4.36 million followers, just 5% of those he had on Twitter. It's funny. Truth is fine. Gab, or not Gab, the other one there. Definitely didn't mean Gab. What was the other one? Truth, Getter, Parler. But it's like Twitter was the first. Twitter is the biggest. And people like to fight. That's what, I'll be honest. I'm always honest. I'll be blunt. I like the fight on Twitter. I don't want to sit around with people who already agree with me. I also want to know what my ideological opponents, adversaries are saying and thinking. Let me see if I can bring this up here. Just look at this. First of all, people, I made a meme and it's epic. I'm not saying I'm trying to get Elon Musk to retweet a tweet of mine, but it is. The fun is in the pursuit. The fun is in the attempt. What could I add of value to Twitter that would actually garner a retweet from Elon Musk? I think this would be it. This should be it, people. So we all know this triggered face, and I don't know who she is. I remember she was a teacher telling someone to get off campus or something. Don't know what the context was. Don't know if the face on the left was angry in any event, but I didn't know that there was this still of this raging, triggered individual, where there was a picture that preceded it where she looked all nice and loving and tolerant. And I mean, look, you skip don't look at the picture on the right. You look like you have a very nice, soft-spoken, caring individual right there, based on that picture alone. But my goodness, what a difference a nanosecond makes. The nice, tolerant leftist says, if you don't like censorship, you should build your own platform. Got a nice funny. Okay. I said, and then he okay, I'll do it. And now he owns it. I said, build it, not buy it. I thought that was funny. I was LOLing to myself as that would happen. But let's just go through the Twitter feed. Because what we are having right now is a certified bona fide. Oh gosh, that fish was the most beautiful fish ever. Okay, what we're having is a bona fide, certified meltdown. I'll get to that one afterwards. Let's just take one here. Andy Siskind. I'm here through midterms to help mobilize the vote. After, if the man-child allows neo-Nazi and hate leaders back, I will keep an account here, but stop providing content. This drives him really crazy. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You can find my oh, by the way, I'm not going to delete my account because that would be commitment, because I've got 560,000 followers on Twitter. You think I believe in anything enough to actually delete my account? Oh, no. I'll stay here for now to mobilize. But if who's the man-child? Who's the man-child? Twitter? Musk? If he allows neo-Nazis, who's anybody I disagree with, and hate leaders back, I will keep an account. I'm not going to piss away my 560,000 followers. That has value. To delete my account would actually be to vote with my feet. But I'll stop providing content. This drives him really crazy. I don't know what the hell she's talking about. They literally, oh, by the way, no, that was it. They literally need a safe spot. I mean, I know she's saying it's a safe. I've already lost thousands of followers who have fled the platform, and hundreds have migrated to Facebook, it appears. Safe spot for now until a better option. Have you seen what's on Facebook, you buffoon? Do you know what's on Facebook? Oh, and by the way, you're only leaving Twitter now because they might let Trump back. Do you know what's on Twitter? There's some of the most vile, offensive crap that has been on Twitter, running ads under it. Oh, no, but now bring back Trump. No. Hardcore porno, grooming, that's fine. That doesn't bother Amy Siskind. Let me see what the profile says. It's got to be something loving. Activist and author. Okay. At least it's straightforward. There's no profile bio that's loving in thought, tolerates all people. Does Amy Siskind not know what's on Facebook? Does she not know that some of the most violent organizations have groups on Facebook, on Twitter, that there's some of the most obscene sexual content on Twitter, some of the most violent video content imaginable, conceivable on Twitter? No. Now she's taking a stand for morality. But she's not enough of a stand to actually delete her account. What was the other one? Oh, look at this. This is funny. This is funny, by the way. Pays to have a memory. It also pays to just know what to think about looking for when you want to prove someone to be a rampant hypocrite. Robert Reich. Robert Reich had a good one. Let me just screen grab a chat, not screen grab, but rather flag a chat here. When multi-billionaires take control of our most vital platforms for communication, it's not a win for free speech. It's a win for oligarchy. That's amazing. Did you complain when Jeff Bezos bought WAPO? I mean, this guy does complain about how much Jeff Bezos makes. He complains about that a lot. Did he complain about it when Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post? No, he didn't complain about that. He complained about other stuff. But look at this. This is just what's funny. This is from April 26. The first time that I can tell in his timeline that he ever complained about individuals owning social media. Until then, his biggest problem with Jeff Bezos was how much he made, not the fact that he controlled a national newspaper. Robert Reich, RB Reich. Zuckerberg owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And I've never complained about him before this tweet. About the ownership, the monopoly. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Elon Musk owns Twitter. When multi-billionaires take control of our most vital platforms for communication, it's not a win for free speech. It's a win for oligarchy. April 26, 2022. Got a lot of retweets. Let me just say that. 55,000 retweets, 4,000 quote tweets, 250,000 likes. Hook it up to my veins, people. Zuckerberg owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Elon Musk owns Twitter. When multi-billionaires take control of our most vital platforms for communication, it's not a win for free speech. It's a win for oligarchy. October 15, 2022. I mean, these are the bots might be the blue check marks. Is this not robotic? There's not one word that's different. I mean, it worked so well the first time. Got to do it a second time. But try to find in Robert Reich's timeline if he ever complained before Musk got involved in taking over Twitter, if he ever complained about Facebook being under the control of one person, about Washington Post being under the control of one person. He's complained about Big Corp not paying their fair share. Dude's worth $10 million or something, but how much is Rob Reich worth? He's complained about other issues, but never about the oligarchy ownership of social media until Musk came into the picture. Maybe I'm wrong. Yes. Okay. Okay. Then let's just see who else is having a meltdown. Eric Fagelding. I'm not making fun of a name. Don't anyone accuse me of making fun of a name. He's got a, in high school, like, look, my last name was Freiheit, Free Heat. I got made fun of as well. Fagelding, I mean, you could be a child and, you know, whatever. Fagelding, for anybody who doesn't know, is not just, I mean, the most outrageous misinformation you can imagine. And I've got hard receipts. Epidemiologist, health economist, health policy, cancer prevention, co-founder of the WHN, former 16 years Harvard, COVID updates from January 20. Elon Musk is now in charge of Twitter. CEO and CFO have left and will not return. They didn't leave, they were fired, from what we understand. Terminated. They didn't leave. But they're going to get $30 million each or whatever. Twitter will be delisted from New York Stock Exchange tomorrow. It's now a private domain of one all-powerful person. God save Twitter and humanity. This would be an example where you do not use the Lord's name in vain, Eric Fagelding, although I doubt you believe in God. God save Twitter and humanity. You pathetic loser, to think that God cares about a social media app. You pathetic loser to bless the survival of humanity on the fact that a social media app that you have been using, Eric Fagelding, Dr. Eric Ding, for the last 2 years to spread the most insidious fear porn disinformation. You are praying to God to save humanity from Twitter. Oh my goodness. But don't take my word for it, people. I do not make bold accusations without having hard evidence. This is political disinformation that Fagelding was talking about in Rittenhouse. This was just one of many. The same judge, this is after he called the judge a racist, by the way, because the judge made the ordering Asian food for lunch joke or comment. The same judge blocks the prosecution from calling Rittenhouse's murdered gunshot victims as victims. By the way, they weren't murdered, Fagelding, because murdered under the law means the unlawful killing of another human. Self-defense, but bygones. Can't call the people that were assaulting Rittenhouse and from whom he had to use lethal force to defend his own life, can't call them victims because they weren't, but they were victims of their own stupidity. But calling them arsonists, looters, and rioters is okay. The same judge blocks the prosecution from calling Rittenhouse's murdered gunshot victims as victims, but calling them arsonists, looters, and rioters is okay. Yeah, because they were arsonists, looters, and rioters, Fagelding. Political disinformation. Let's go to some medical misinformation. And by the way, I'm not the only one that picked up on Fagelding's medical misinformation problem. This is a Fagelding tweet. I am sick and tired of idiots saying we don't need to protect kids. Oh, we need to protect kids from certain people and from government abuse. If a classroom, he's doing math here, peeps. Listen to this. If a classroom of 30 kids get COVID without masks, then statistically, give or take 4 will suffer long COVID. That is not okay. I am so damn mad. Join me and Peter Hotez to talk about whatever. Blah, blah, blah. If 30 kids get COVID without masks, are you suggesting here? I don't even know what you're suggesting with the without masks, as though the with masks would prevent kids from getting COVID in classrooms, especially the way the filthy kids wear masks, especially with the way filthy kids with no sense of responsibility treat masks. Set that aside. The kids will pull down their masks to pick their nose. They're going to pull down their masks to chew up the erasers on the end of their pencils, whatever. If 30 kids get COVID, then statistically 4 will suffer long COVID. Let me do some quick math. That's about 12% of COVID infections, according to Fagel Ding, that result in long COVID. That's misinformation, fear porn. When was it? When was this tweet from? Oh, this is a recent tweet. It's January. That's February of this year. Won't someone think of the children? That's one. Misinformation. Here's another one. This, I had to listen to the clip. He says it. We know that with Omicron, it's actually more severe in children than in adults. Also February. This is Dr. Fagel Ding. Melting down now because Twitter's in the hands of one man who's going to protect. You know who Musk should be protecting us from? You, Fagel Ding. God help us all and God save humanity. You abuse of God's name. See what's going on here? Check out my YouTube live chat, someone says. Let's see what's going on in the YouTube live chat. I get nervous immediately. What's going on in the YouTube live chat? Is there a problem in the live chat? Well, while I'm here, Heart Tackle. Thanks for all you do. I am melting. LOL, thanks for all you do. Heart Tackle, thank you very much. Let me go back and see what the deal was. What was the problem in the chat and YouTube? I got nervous. Like, have to what's the word? Understand the way I react when I think there's something immediately devastatingly wrong. Take a deep breath, know that it's probably not the case. And it looks okay. Okay, let's bring this out. What is this? Okay. Oh my good God. Now I understand what's happening. I've been live on this one. I'm sorry, people. Sorry. Now I understand. I've been live talking over the hearing on the second channel. That could be irritating. Whoops. Okay, so that's funny, but that's not a big deal. No crisis, no emergency, just me being an idiot, because I'm an idiot. For anyone who doesn't understand, you're watching on the main channel and on Rumble. You've been seeing this, me ranting and raving over the inquiry in the other one because I was sharing the screen with my own face there. Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. Well, you should have been on Rumble in the first place. I guess that wouldn't have been an issue on Rumble, was it? It was an issue on Rumble as well. Okay. Let it become a meme. I'm an idiot. Quote, Viva Fry. Okay. All right. I'm not. Okay. The video's off there. The video's off there. Okay. Now I see the numbers going back up slightly on the second stream. All right. Do we have any more meltdowns on the Twitterverse? I think we do. Um, 10 minutes. Do we go? Look at this. The gates of hell opened. That's a headline on Fox News, but they're quoting other people. Okay, we've only got 10 minutes before our guest comes on. Do I do one story here? Then we're going to wind it up and go over to Rumble. Holy crap! We've been going for 2 hours live, and we're going to go over to bring the exclusive interview over to Rumble. I listen to Angels and Airwaves. Okay, this is. I listen to Angels and Airwaves. I love Angels and Airwaves. I've been listening to Lifeforms, their newest album. I mean, I haven't gotten sick of it yet. Like you listen to it every time I get in the car, I listen to it. I love it. I wake up in the middle of the night because I got that stupid song running in my head, just anything. I have the lyrics to Angels and Airwaves songs in my head in the night. I love Blink-182. I know some people don't like it. I do. I've been watching Tom DeLonge's Descent into Madness on Twitter for a little while now. And I'm saying this, I say this like I would love to have the discussion with Tom because the jab, everything on Twitter is a jab. Everything reads like a snide, in your face, needle, sass. He's in my view, either personally, emotionally tied to the conflict in Ukraine or not. But for whatever reason, I think he's swallowed the MSM Kool-Aid about the Ukraine-Russia war narrative. So I've been following that. And every now and again, he has another bad take on things. It's just like you see people grow, you see people evolve, and then at some point, even with loved ones and friends, you see them start to drink the Kool-Aid, believe the Kool-Aid. And this was about a tweet. I hope I didn't get blocked yet. Oh, this is about supporting the block on Kanye. We're going to go down the Twitter timeline here. Avid Trump supporter Kanye knows exactly what Trump is doing. Okay. Seth Abramson, let's just go all the way back. New York Times best-selling author. And look at his. So by the way, this is the origin of the Ukraine flag. Skies of blue, fields of wheat, yellow. Historically. Abramson, Seth Abramson, New York Times best-selling author, attorney, journalist, poet, PhD, political historian, anal analyses, CNN, BBC, CBS, Washington Post. Well, that says everything you need to know. Okay, so Seth Abramson tweets out, I'm going to sneeze. No. Avid Trump supporter Kanye knows exactly what Trump is doing. He would praise Hitler by saying how incredible it was that he was able to accumulate so much power. Yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Okay. Tom DeLonge. I love his music. I'm trying to help him on social media. Remember when the Nazis created industrialized murder, an insane group of individuals that were full of evil, no celebration, period. This is in respect of Kanye, who apparently is now, being canceled because Kanye has allegedly praised Hitler. It's amazing how when it's time to cancel someone, go dig up something and accuse them of having praised Hitler. I mean, imagine you go to the History Channel and they talk about the German army, the Luftwaffe, the U-boat wars. Imagine now if you actually historically assess the efficiency of the German Nazi war machine. Is that praising Hitler? If you say that, but for a few turn of events, Germany, a radically smaller nation with a radically smaller military than 100 million Russians, England, France, America, almost won the war because of the prowess of their military. Is that praising Hitler? But who knows? Become politically unpopular, the History Channel might be accused of praising Hitler. And so I just want to help people that I care about. I care about their art, and I love the music. I'm Tom DeLonge's social media. What's the word? Not regressions. His social media mistakes are not enough that I should hate his art. Roman Polanski might be a different kettle of fish. Everything about Kanye is an anonymous source. This is from CNN. The former executive who said that Kanye praised Hitler asked not to be named due to confidentiality agreement and fear of retribution by West about his comments. And another one, look at this one. This individual, another one, stated that people in West's inner circle were fully aware of his interest in Hitler. This anonymous individual who doesn't want to be named is now testifying to what other people in Kanye West's inner circle were fully aware of. 4 sources told CNN that West had originally suggested that the title Hitler for his 2018 album that eventually released as Ye. They did not want to be named, citing concern for professional retribution. Yeah, it's a funny thing how potentially lying about very material stuff might have retribution. It's funny how when you put your name to a statement, people can actually, go ask for receipts, go check. Okay, let's do this now. It's been way long on YouTube, and that's just because I started an hour early by accident. Let us mosey on over to the Rumble Mobile, shall we? Let's see here. I'll apologize to everyone again in the chat on the other one. Let's mosey on over to Rumble. When we get our Democracy Fund guest in, the interview will be exclusively there for now and to be posted to YouTube secondarily. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Oh, man. Okay, so you all have the link. Here it is. He has full autonomy to deny publicly these claims of his beliefs. Well, Dan Smith, he has full autonomy, but he doesn't have a full obligation to run around denying the most random accusations ever. This is sort of, Dan Smith, I don't know if you're, I'm not sure if of your intentions with this, but set that aside. I'll presume that this is a sincere comment. Part of the whole strategy of trolls and lies and accusations is that they make them. You can never adequately defend against them no matter what you say, because they will try to harp on one statement that you make in denying them to then go after you for another thing. That's one aspect of the disingenuous accusations to compel a public disavowal. The other aspect of it is they want to distract you from doing what you're doing. So they come up with these baseless, idiotic accusations, things that you can't. How are you supposed to deny? How are you supposed to prove a negative? I never made those statements. Prove it. Oh, okay. I win. Checkmate, biatch. Yeah. So no, that's not how it works. It's not defend you're free to defend yourself. No, you want to make a bold accusation that goes to the core of the integrity of a human and call them a racist and anti-Semite, a genocidal forgiver. You come with the receipts, and you sure as hell don't do it anonymously. And if you do it anonymously, you better have the receipts nonetheless, not some CNN garbage. Publishing it anonymously, sources who don't want to be named, and we've got nothing else other than these sources citing people from the inner circles of Kanye. Okay. Biatch. Sorry. Yeah, that's not how it works. All right. With that said, 2 hours in, ending it on YouTube. And we're going to talk some vaccine stories and whatever else I have in the backdrop. I forget. Ending on YouTube, removing now. I will see you all in 3, 2, 1 on the Rumble.